Hey there and welcome back to the channel. I tested OpenAI Assistant API and built a wrapper around it to make it even simpler to build the agents. And now in not even 30 lines of code, you can make an agent that is working in a really good and simple way. So it's easy to understand the flow, it's easy to implement it for new projects because I found myself in the need of building multiple agents for multiple projects. And if you have a template of where you can start and you just need to implement some new functions based on the project specifics, then it's just way easier to quickly develop AI agents for your customers. Okay, let's dive in. I will first show you guys some basics and then also show how simple it is to create an AI agent. Okay, so before we're gonna look into the actual code, I think it's a good idea to look at the structure of what we're gonna build. The OpenAI Assistant API has three core elements. And as you can see here, it has tools, the system message, and files. And if we're looking at the tools, it has custom functions, and this makes your agent come to life. Because this means your agent has access to real-time data of customers, or it can escalate the conversation to a human. It really gives some extra power to the agent. It also has the code interpreter. The code interpreter makes it possible for the agent to handle complex tasks. So for example, doing calculations or other complex things. This is where you're gonna need the code interpreter. It also has the retriever, and the retriever has access to the files, and it's basically a built-in rack system, and that's working pretty nice. You can also make your own rack system, but for now we're just going to use the retriever. We also have the system message, and it has instructions of what the agent should do in different cases, and this is basically how the agent communicates to the user. And this is the core of the agent. And every time a user starts a new conversation, it also starts a new thread. And in this thread, we have a user message, which we start with. This can be, for example, hey, I ordered something at the store, but have not received it yet. Could you please look up the order status? Okay, then we can instruct the agent with, hey, if someone wants to know their order status, we are gonna need a order number. The AI response will be, hey, thank you for your message. We need the order ID to look up the delivery date of your order. So could you please provide me with it? Okay, the user is gonna say, okay, my order is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It knows what function to use to look up the delivery date, and it will make a nice AI response to the user. So this is basically an overview of how the agent works. We're now gonna head into the code. And I think this is where the really interesting stuff starts. Okay, so before building the actual agent, I'm gonna walk you through the folder so that you know where to find what. We have 4 folders. We have an agent folder, a data folder, a functions folder, and a prompts folder. And if we open the assistant.py in the agent folder, you can see here that we have the agent class. And this is basically the wrapper around the OpenAI Assistant API. I'm gonna get into the details a bit later in the video. If we look at the data folder, we have an input folder. We have a simple data frame here that has some hard-coded estimated delivery times here. It has some statuses, so it could be shipped, processing, delivered. And obviously, if you're building an agent, it needs access to real-time data of, for example, the delivery times, but for now, this will do. We also have this file. It's a PDF file with just some basic information about the company. We also have this output folder, and in this output folder, we have escalations.json. And this is basically for every time that a customer says, I want to talk with a real human, or we're having a problem with a product, we would like to keep the human in the loop. And this basically means that whenever we're building an AI system, we do not want the AI to be in control all by itself. Sometimes it's better to have a human in the loop that can have some real empathy towards the customers, or if it is something that will really influence the lives of people, I don't think you want to trust AI with that kind of things yet. So that's where the escalations.json comes into play. We have this functions and function.py file, and this is where we define the functions and we also build the functions here. I will explain this later. And we have the prompts folder and a prompt.py file where we have the instructions for the agent. Okay, now that you understand the structure of this folder, we are going to build our agent, and I'm going to show you how simple it is to implement this. So we're going to make a main function, and we are going to call it immediately when we run it. Okay, the first thing we need to do is we are going to make an instance of our agent. So we are going to use the agent wrapper that we have here. I will show you. And we need to initialize it with instructions. And the instructions basically instruct the agent how to act, what the logic behind the conversations is. And for example here, if you determine that a human should handle the conversation, first ensure that you have the user's email address or phone number, and if you do not have it, politely ask the user to provide their email address or phone number so a human can contact them. So we have the instructions, we have the functions, and this is a list of all the functions that we have, and these are the instances of the function class. So I'm going to show you here. We have this function class, and it has the function, it has a name, it has a description and parameters. And we are first going to make the function. So for example, get the order status. This function can have arguments and context. And the arguments are basically all the information that the AI agent can get out of the conversation. Think about order numbers, email addresses for the escalation, the reason why the conversation should be handled by a human, basically everything that could be extracted from the conversation itself. And we have the context, and the context is everything that is coming from the back end. So I told you about whenever a conversation is started, we make a thread, and this thread has an ID, and if we are going to escalate it to a human, it's very nice to have this thread ID so that the human can go through the conversation, see what went wrong, and then contact the client in a nice and informed way. So that's the difference between context and the arguments. So we have these three functions, and this is the escalate human. And as you can see here, we get the reason because it analyzes the conversation, and it can say, okay, the reason why this person wants to talk with a human is because the product is broken, or he specifically asked to talk to a human. The contact info is obviously also something that is coming from the conversation directly, and the thread ID we get from the context. So here's the saving part into the JSON file, and here we bring everything together. So we initialize a function, we add the function, the name and the description. And this is super important because the agent needs to know what function can do what and what the goal of a specific function is. Because it's going to look at a conversation, it's going to go, okay, do I need a function for this? And if so, what function do I need to choose? And we're adding some parameters, and that's, for example, the order number is something we need to give into the get order status. And we do this for all the functions, and if you look here, we can also have multiple variables that are specified. So we have a reason, so the reason why the conversation should be escalated to a human. And also these variables are specified here so that the agent understands what value every variable should be. The reason, okay, what is the reason? The reason why the conversation should be escalated to a human. The contact info, okay. Sometimes it's pretty straightforward, but now the agent really understands every function. Okay, so we added the instructions, we added the functions, We also need to add our vector store name. We can name this whatever we want. So let's call it product info shopwise. Okay, so now we have an instance of our agent. Okay, so we still need to upload our files to the agent. So what we do here is agent.upload files to vector store, and then we specify where this is stored. So it's stored in data, input, shopwise, company information.pdf. We then need to link the vector store to the agent. We do that here. And this is basically everything we needed to do to initialize our agent. So you need to make your functions, you need to write instructions, and that's it. So if we want to run it now, we'll have a welcoming message here. So that will be something like, hey, Shopwise assistant, what can I do to help you? And because it's a chatbot and we want to simulate it like that, because it also has history, so it has a understanding of what the things are that are said before. So if we do well true, we need to get the user input. We do that like this, input user. And we don't want to check if user input equals exit. So this is how we break out of the loop. We want to print thanks for this conversation, and we want to break. And otherwise we want to send message, user input, and we want to get the response. So we can do AI response is agent.get last response, and we can then print the response out. So we do AI response and then a new line. Okay, let's test it out. Okay, hey, welcome to the Shopwise Assistant. What can I do to help you? Hey, I think my product should have already be delivered. When is it expected to come? So in the back end, the agent will now understand, okay, we want to look at the estimated delivery date of the product. So it says, could you provide me with your order number? This will help me check the estimated delivery time for your order. Okay, perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It now extracts this from the message. You could also do something, my order number is, and it will understand what the order number is, which it needs to give to the function. And it says that the estimated delivery date for your order number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is November 1st, 2024. Perfect. If we now say, I do not want to talk with you, it understands that this is something serious. We do not want to trigger the customer even more. So we say, I understand, could you please provide your email address or phone number so I can have a human representative contact you. Hi at everyman.ai. I forwarded your request to a human representative and they will reach out to you shortly. If there's anything else you need in the meantime, feel free to let me know. Okay, so if we now look at the output data, we have here user prefers to speak with a human representative with the thread ID and the email address. So what we can do now is we can show this in the backend of the company. We can say, okay, look at this thread ID, what is said in the conversation, let's have a look. Let's make an email and send it to the contact info. And if I now show you how the assistant works, we basically have these functions that are just made a bit simpler and just easier to use. So for example, we have this add function, and this function metadata is something we need to add basically every time. We do not want to specify this every time we are making a function. But this is now the only thing we need to add to it, because let's see, we are here. This is added automatically. We can initialize the vector store and we have a logger. It basically has some more error handling. It's simpler to edit because we just have to call these functions and everything is taken care of. So we upload the files to a vector store. We link the store to the assistant. We start a conversation, and as you can see here, we create a thread and we have a logger so that we know what is happening in the backend. We use this send message function that will use the thread and add a message to it, and we have this logic behind it that will make sure the thing is running correctly. And you don't have to know everything about this wrapper. It works, and if you need to make some adjustments, you can literally go to ChatGPT, throw it in there, and it will provide you with some changes that you might need for your project. But I think for most projects this will do, and you can literally make in 29 lines and some functions your assistant, so you can roll out your agents way quicker. And that's it. I'm sharing this on my GitHub as well, so feel free to use it and play around with this. I found myself looking for new features, new frameworks at least once a week, and I now decided to really stay with one way of working and just keep improving this. And I think that's some good advice for you if you also find yourself looking for new frameworks, testing out new features and stuff. Just make something that you can copy paste for multiple projects, and then make some twists, add your own functions based on what you need for your project. Okay, so if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps me and my channel to reach more people. And don't hesitate to use the code on my GitHub and use your own agents using this framework.